Welcome to Project 1, the smartphone stand. Let's take a look at what it looks like. This is what we're trying to accomplish. It's basically a triangle, and it has a foot right here that you allow your smartphone to sit sideways on, and it tips it back at an angle so you can sit, put it on your coffee table, and watch videos. So let's build one. Okay, so we start Autodesk Inventor. And we will start a new project. We always look for metric, standard metric. And the main reason you use standard metric is, I'm going to tell you a secret, the math is easier. So let's get started. Standard metric, create, which is down here. Give it a minute. And now we can begin. We always start our 3-dimension drawings in 2-dimension, which should be right here. And I love the fact that Autodesk Inventor, when you hover on an icon, it gives you help. So if you're not sure, and as you are learning what these commands do, you just hover it right on top, and you give it a second, it'll show you what it does. Pretty neat. So we're just going to click right here in the middle of the 2D sketch, like that. And now it has brought up our X, Y, and Z planes. So let's begin. We usually begin on this surface. This surface here represents the build plate of a 3D printer. And that's where we want to set our drawing or sketch so that it goes upwards off of this build plate. So we'll select it by clicking on it. It turned green, and now what it just did, it rotated. It has rotated so that we're looking straight down at it. So we can draw in 2 dimensions. So let's start drawing. First, what are we drawing? Well, let's go back to our PowerPoint, and we're going to start with drawing a right triangle, making the hypotenuse side 65 millimeters and the opposite side 55 millimeters. You can see that little blue angles. Arrows, they show you the 3 sides that we're going to draw. So let's get drawing. Switch back over, and I'm going to start with the line command. I'll click on it. That turns it on. Now we are in line drawing mode, and we'll start right here in the dead center. And you can tell when it turns a little bit green in the center like that, you are right on that dot. So I will single click with the left mouse button, lifting up after I push down on it. Now that I've done that, if I were to keep holding it, well, my finger would get tired. This is the nice thing about drawing in CAD is you just single click it and it puts you in a drawing mode and it keeps you there. I am just moving the mouse without holding the mouse button down at all. And so I know from looking at the other drawing, I don't know how long this base is going to be, but I do know this one needs to be about 55 millimeters. And it looks like I need to make more room, which is easy to do. Take your mouse wheel and roll it forward, which now makes the drawing, it backs you up. So now that's approximately 55 millimeters. And I can tell from the little icon that came up right about there, that's 0 degrees. and it is perpendicular to the x-axis. That's straight up and down. So now we just click the mouse button one time, the left mouse button, and we come down and start making our angle. We know this one's going to be about 65, so when I get down to this line here, I can just back it up to around 65, and that's close enough. Now let's get on the line, and I can tell because it sticks a little bit. You can feel it when it goes, kind of almost clicks onto that line. So we're close enough. Left mouse click, and now we go back to our original dot, the green dot. And now that we are on the green dot, one more left mouse click, and now we have drawn our triangle. But it's not precisely the size we need, because it needs to be 65 for the hypotenuse and 55 for the opposite side, you know, the side that goes up. Well, let's make it do that. Let's start by clicking on the dimension tool here. Click on it, turns it on. Now, if I just touch this line like this and click on it and move my mouse to the left, there we go. That is saying it's 65.42 something or other. Left mouse click it, okay. Move it to where you want this dimension, which is our measurement, so it looks nice. Right about there is good. Then left click it again, and when you single left click it, it gives you the opportunity to type in the dimension that you want. And now I can OK it. 65. Now the other one, yep, 65. The other one is 55. Let's go do it. Dimension is still turned on. I don't have to click it again. So that means I can go over here and click on this line, drag out my dimension out a little bit so I can see it, click on it again, and now I can say 55 and hit enter. So why don't we dimension this one? Watch this. I can click on it and comes down here, and I click again. Do you see this error message? That is saying adding this third dimension will over-constrain the sketch. That means you don't need it. You have everything you need to make that triangle fit. And if you throw in a third dimension on there and it happens to be off, well, none of the math will work. So they don't allow you to do that. So we'll do a cancel because we won't put a dimension there. Although I will show you later, there is a way in another lesson how you can sneak a temporary dimension just so you can see it, but it doesn't really do anything. These do something. Like say 55, if I wanted that to be 45, I double click the 55, come over here and change it to 45, and look at that. It changed my triangle. I can put it back to 55. Now if you just single click it, it comes up with the opportunity to type it in. I have a habit of double clicking things, and you can see when I do that, it doesn't highlight that like that. But a single click on that dimension will allow you to type right on it. And you can put mm on it if you wish. It's optional. And I'll tell you a little secret. You can put other dimensions in. Like if you want it to be 55 inches, you can put that in there. If you want it to be 55 centimeters, you could throw that in. That would be multiplying it by 10 basically. But we want millimeters, and it is defaulted to millimeters. So what defaulted means is if I just type a number in, it's going to assume that I want millimeters, like that. Okay, so we're done with this sketch. There's nothing left to draw in here, or is there? There is one more thing to draw. And what I will do is show you how to save this sketch, what it looks like, and how to edit it. So right up here, the green checkbox where it says Finish Sketch, that, by clicking on it, saves your work for this particular, well, they call it a sketch. So we'll click on it, and of course it turned it sideways, so you can't really see what you're doing, but that's all right. We can use this cube over here to click on different, like say if I click on front, that gives me front view. If I click up here and say go to top, this is the top down look, from the top looking down. Now notice it's not, was the bottom earlier and now it's the right side. You can rotate this sketch by clicking on these arrows, and now it's the way we drew it. So we can do things like extrude, loft, we can do all these other commands, but what I really want to do is draw a triangle on the inside of this triangle 3 millimeters away from each side, so that becomes the thickness of this thing when we print it. It's a hollow triangle basically with a foot that holds your cell phone from sliding off, and we don't make this solid because that's just a waste of plastic. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to edit this sketch, and here it is right here where it says sketch. If I right click on it, I can go to edit sketch and click on it. Then I'm back to editing my sketch, and look, here is something that's handy called the offset command, I guess you could call it. It's the offset tool, and you can see by the drawing, offset creates a second iteration of whatever you're drawing and makes it either larger or smaller than the original. That's what its intention is. So let's click on the offset tool, and let's pick our solid triangle here, and I'll click on it right here. Now if I move my mouse left, I can draw a bigger triangle outside of the one we're on. I'm just showing you that because you can do that. That's not what I want. I want a smaller triangle inside, like say about there. Now I'll left click again to lock it in place. And all these equal signs are saying that it's all proportional and equal. So let's look at what we're trying to do here. So we are now in this slide where we are drawing an offset triangle inside the one that we made, and down here we want to be 3 millimeters away from the inside of the original triangle all the way around. Well, let's do that. So we'll go back to our drawing, and we can't tell how distant it is, but now we will be able to set it. We'll hit dimension, and I'll just put it on this line, left click one time, which normally the single left click lets you dimension a long side, but if you push your mouse up and touch the next line like this and then left click, now it's giving me the ability to put in a dimension between those two lines I just clicked on. And now I'm going to left click one more time to lock it in, but before I lock it in, I get a chance to say 3. Hit enter. Look at that. That is what we wanted. It now looks like this. Yes, it does. So we are now finished with that sketch. We'll click on it. And now, what is the next thing we want to do? We want to extrude our sketch upwards, which is basically, it's like the thing's turned on its side, so that's why it looks like that. So that's the next thing we're going to do, is extrude upwards 125 millimeters. So let's go back to our drawing. Now we want to extrude upwards, which means we'll use the extrude command here, or the extrude tool. But what I need to do is turn it on an angle. So I go back to this cube, and if I just put it on, say right there, right on the edge, and click on it, there, that's angled it down a little bit. So that means I can go to my extrude tool, click on it, and it's already selected the triangle, but it doesn't know if I want to extrude the middle, if I want to extrude the outer edge. Well, the outer edge is what I want to extrude, because then it'll look like that. So let's choose this area. You can tell it's choosing it by shading it red. Left click. You can see it's starting to go up. Now this arrow here, if you click and hold on it and push up, you can actually move that up and down, and you can see we've moved it 26.5 millimeters. Now I've come down 21.5 millimeters. Now I'm at 16.25 millimeters, and so on and so forth. There's 20 millimeters, but we wanted 125. So the other way, the easy way to do this, there's 3 ways to do this. You can type in 125 right here. You can type in 125 right here, or you can just push this arrow up 125, which is really the harder way. I'm going to elect to do it here. 125. And you can see the sketch grew. Now if I roll my wheel mouse away from me, I'm zooming out, I can see my sketch. I can see my 3-dimensional extrusion. So you know it's going to go up about there somewhere. But again, if you double click that and say 125, hit enter to lock it in, there. Now I'm going to use my wheel mouse and roll it towards me a little, so that I can see, yep, kind of looks like that. There, I rolled the mouse wheel away from me. So it's not turned the same way, but that's it. So we'll OK it. Okay. So now, the next thing is to put a foot on this. Because if I roll this over, you can see, whoop, too far. You can see we're now getting the stand constructed. The last thing missing is down here somewhere, is to put a foot, about a 15 millimeter foot on it. Let's see if that's what it is. We'll go to the next slide. It will be 3 millimeters thick, but it'll extrude 15 millimeters out. So let's go back a couple steps. Here's where we are right now. We've extruded upwards. Here's the next step, and I've turned the sketch so that we're looking right straight down on the hypotenuse side. We want to draw a rectangle the whole distance up and down and make it 3 millimeters. So let's do that. Now I can do this by selecting, you see, whatever I touch my mouse on, it tends to turn it red or a pink. That gives me a chance to, if I were to click on it, that would become my next drawing surface. Well, I want this to be my next drawing surface because I want to draw on it down here. Just because the whole thing turns pink doesn't mean you're going to draw on the whole thing. We're just going to draw on the whole side of the thing somewhere. It doesn't even have to be on it. You can choose this to draw on and draw way off here in outer space. And it'll just, all it does is it gives you a plane to draw on from here to here, here to here. So let's click on it. And now it's turned green, which means I can now go over to start my 2D sketch right on it. And it has rotated it for me right there. So if I click on that, I'm looking straight at it, or pretty close to straight at it. And if I remember right, yep, there we go. This is the surface I want to draw on. So we'll turn it back. Oh, one more time. This bottom edge is where we're putting the foot. So we'll turn it towards us so we can look at it. Now, we start up a rectangle, what they call a 2-point rectangle. If you click on that, a 2-point rectangle allows you to put 1 point, like say right there, bottom left corner, click with the mouse, and you can see it's a green dot, so we're right on that perfect spot. Click one time, lift up of course, and then as you move your mouse, you are now drawing a rectangle. Well, we want the rectangle to come, you see where that side just turned red, just barely? That's where we want it. And there's a little icon that pops up to tell me that I am now touching the edge. And I can also confirm it by looking at the measurement. It's 125 millimeters. That was the extrusion distance. So they match. So I'll just left click on it right there. I've left clicked on it and I've drawn my rectangle. And obviously it's too tall, but that's okay. That's what the dimension command is for. This dimension tool, by clicking on it, I can now choose the blue line I just made. I click on it and you see of course it's 125, but if we touch this bottom edge where it just turned red and then click on it, now, oh look at that, it's giving me another line I can go to. There's a line behind, so be careful not to click on that. So I can click right here, and I believe we want it to be 3. Yes, that's what it says right here, 3 millimeters. So 3 it is. I'll just type a 3, and I hit the green checkbox, and now we have our 3 millimeters. Okay, and if you wanted to be a purist about it, we can rotate it. There, that's pretty much rotated. So it kind of looks like this now. The next step is to extrude it. So we'll rotate it away so we can draw on it and see the extrusion going. So we need to rotate it a little bit to the right, a little bit more. There we go. And I think I want to also click on here, so there we go. I like that. That's pretty good. I can see, now I'm going to zoom in by rolling the mouse wheel. I can see this right here. This is my latest sketch, sketch number 2. So you might be going, hey, where'd sketch 1 go? Well, under this plus sign, under the extrusion, is sketch 1. They kind of group together. And you're going to see that here. Sketch 2 is this 3 millimeter rectangle. And of course I'm going to say OK to finish. Notice I don't have extrusion tools or anything. They are here, but you should always finish your sketch first before you move on to the next thing. And this sketch is ready to be finished. So we'll click on it. And now that I have sketch 2 chosen, which is right here. Well, you can't. Okay. Right there in the green, we can click on extrude. And holy cow, it's extruded a mile. And I'm going to scroll out. Not quite a mile, 125 millimeters, because that's what was used over here. But we want that to be 15. So we'll change that. 1, 5, 15. And we'll say OK. And there you have it. There is your smartphone stand. Now, just as a reminder how I'm rotating this, if you take and hold down the Shift key on the left side of the keyboard, I'm assuming you're right-handed here. If you are left-handed, you do the opposite. So you hold down the Shift key with one hand, push down on the mouse wheel with the other, and you can start moving the mouse left and right, up and down, and it will rotate until you let go of the mouse wheel and the Shift key, which I have just done. And there you have it. That will complete Project 1.